Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Tate Mathews, WCS Spring Fling continues.
Continues, moving right along. Some pretty dominating performances that we're going to get to, and well represented in all the sports. It'll be here before we know it, but Murfreesboro, here we come.
Well, and let's do this, because I know, listen, you're out in the community a lot, and sometimes you hear, why aren't we talking about this sport? Or why aren't we talking about that sport? Usually it's in relation to the club sports.
Correct.
Which I totally get, by the way. Give a shout out on lacrosse. Next year, lacrosse is going to be a sanctioned sport. And you're talking about in the semifinals, the state semifinals, we had Nolensville versus Ravenwood, Brentwood versus Franklin. You seeing a trend here?
Yes.
And then Page in the division that they're in, they were in the semis and they advanced to the final. So it's Nolensville taking on Brentwood this week for the state title again next year, a sanctioned sport.
Yes, and it's held at Nolensville. The state championships have been held there for the past few years. Great facility, as we always talk about. Great facilities, but also great parking. You never have to worry about parking.
Now that's true, and that's underrated. That's underrated.
Especially if you got several things going on that night or that day. So never have to worry about parking at Nolensville, and you know the facility is going to be top notch. But yes, Nolensville will be in the state championship game. They defeated Ravenwood 10-9.
It was 9-8 or 10-9. I
believe it was 10-9. Great game there, and had to hold on at the end to hold that 1 point lead that they had. They ended up getting it. They're going back, and then as you mentioned, they will be playing Brentwood, who defeated Franklin on the other side. So it was an all Wilco. We had heard a lot about Memphis was kind of the place to be was lacrosse. Wilco's where it is when we're talking lacrosse. And then you mentioned Page. They will be playing for a state championship as well against Seymour. Do you know their mascot? They're out of Sevier County.
I don't.
Seymour Eagles.
I thought it was going to be something more fun than that.
To quote my man Charles Barkley, I don't know a whole lot about Seymour lacrosse. All I know is they in trouble. So it's going to be fun, yeah. I can't wait for it to be sanctioned. It'll be another sport that will be well represented by our Wilco schools.
And we're in talks for having the state championship next year in Wilco.
Very cool. Nolensville or a little closer to the
Hadn't gotten there. We're not there yet.
Yep.
But it's coming.
Plenty of hotels, plenty of restaurants, plenty to do.
Plus we'll be playing.
Let's maybe all of it.
Let's talk some baseball here. And you talked about that parking. So on Friday night, I went out and checked out some region baseball action, and lacrosse was going on plenty. No problem. I actually watched some baseball, slipped over to watch a little lacrosse. I saw our man Shane, Mr. Turf at Ravenwood, John Shane.
Yes.
John Shane, great guy. He and I talked. His son's helping out with that Ravenwood lacrosse team. So that was a lot of fun, just on being on that campus. We had the Northern Lights. The place was lit up. It was a great night.
What more can you ask for?
It was a great night, man. It was a great night. So baseball, Nolensville, they end up winning the region tournament, which we predicted.
Yes.
But listen,
that's the only thing we predicted, right?
Well, and let's call it out if we deserve it. We both said 0 chance that it's going to be anybody but us and Summit. Although you said, no, hey, Columbia's well coached and this and that. They going home too.
They're going home.
It's Lincoln County, Nolensville. So I was a little disappointed that Summit didn't punch their ticket, but a really good season for Summit, especially how they came together at the end of that year. So they're out. We're down to Nolensville in baseball. They host a sectional, and I like this. It's a 2 out of 3. I just don't think Green Hill's got the guns to get us.
No, they don't. I don't think so. But that's why you play the game. Green Hill, coached by Justin Alberson, longtime Centennial. Coach Boffman, assistant baseball coach. So I think we take some of the credit for that. Do we not?
Some.
But yeah, Nolensville's been dominant, man. We thought maybe there'd be a little bit of a maybe a little bit of a step back in the district tournament because they didn't have to. No, not so much. District champs,
You know what I noticed?
regional champs, and now we got a section.
Here's what I noticed about Nolensville in that game, because I guess what brought it up to me was because you make fundamental errors sometimes in terms of execution. Something happened with the stolen base, and it was against Columbia, and the coach was like, "Hey, you didn't cover, and y'all got to communicate more." What I noticed about Nolensville, they don't make those fundamental mistakes.
No.
I mean, you got to put the bat on the ball, so to speak. You got to hit the strike zone. But some of those things, like the cutoff man and who's covering it, they don't make those mistakes. They really don't. And I shout out to Coach Hudson. You got to have the players, but you got to be able to execute as well.
Yeah. Well, that's coaching, right? I mean,
is.
There's Jimmy's and Joe's things that you can't overcome. But when you see some teams play like that, put together like that, you know the basketball teams that were like that. That's coaching, and it's not just him. I mean, it is him because he's the head coach, but he's got a deep staff. And shout out to the athletic director for letting him hire a deep staff. But he's got a good staff too. Yeah, you're right. They don't. They're well put together. I would love to ask him, or hope you do. I'm sure that's going to go back to Coach Peterson, his college coach. That's how his teams were. They were going to be fundamentally sound, and they weren't going to make silly mistakes.
And people say that about Coach Kirby.
Who played for Coach Peterson.
And Coach Hudson and Coach Kirby. They've got some history as well. So great job by them. Let's keep it rolling. Here's the other thing I would say about their team. Now, again, I'm not saying they don't have dudes. It's not the most impressive looking baseball team I've ever seen. No. In fact, some of his teams he's had before, talking about Coach Hudson, to me looked physically more imposing, but they're not more dominant than this team. This is a really good team.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get to something a little later that it's really when you feel like, because we've been watching it, right? But when you see it on paper like that, wow, even more impressive.
If you're talking about spring sports right now, it's Brentwood 1.
Yep.
It's Nolensville 2.
Yes. Close to. Let's see how it ends up. I mean.
You still think Ravenwood maybe?
No. I'm saying.
Oh, you saying they maybe won?
Yeah. We'll see how this thing ends up.
Well, when you get to the state level, I think Brentwood's got to have some more options.
Yes.
At state level.
But they could win too right here.
Right. They could.
That'd be huge.
So let's talk softball. You're alluding to the second one, softball. Congratulations to Nolensville. It's a little behind in softball. The timing's a little different because of pitching. They win the district tournament. If you take a look at our bracket, Tate, last week we had gotten some of that in. Nolensville and Summit, as of last week's show, they were heading to play one another in the winners bracket final. Nolensville wins 7-2. Then you've got Ravenwood. These are elimination games. Ravenwood beats Brentwood 10-2. To be fair to Brentwood, they had some unfortunate injuries there at the end,
yes.
but Ravenwood really started playing well. The one that really surprised me, it really did, and you got to give Coach Buchanan of Independence credit.
Yep.
A 4-0 win in an elimination game over Centennial, and then Ravenwood ends up beating Indy. Now all of a sudden Ravenwood's in the final 3, and they finished seventh maybe in the league, 6th or 7th in the league standings. Sixth. They were sixth. So they go from 8-team league 6th. They get all the way down to the final 3. Summit ends up ending their season with a 6-3 win, and then Nolensville 12-8 in the final. So I know I said a lot there, but Nolensville rolls through. But that other part of the draw is the one that really threw us off last week. It really threw us off this week.
Yes. Except for the Summit making their way through it.
Of course. We thought it was Nolo Summit.
Right. But yes, it did not. There were some upsets in there that I don't think anybody saw, including the ones that had the upset. But Nolensville, again, 12-8. Seems like there's been some low-scoring games, but there's something about Nolensville when they get together with Summit. It's usually high-scoring, at the very least on the Nolensville side. But They haven't had any problems putting up runs against them.
Well, you know, I kind of like numbers.
You love numbers.
Nolensville scored 39 runs in 4 games. That's almost 10.
Well, you look at their batting order, but Sidney Dickinson, J.C. Bilbrey, Kendra McNeil, they're all batting over 400. They've got about 3 or 4 others that are well over 300. I mean, almost. I bet their entire lineup's over 300. Most of them are 350 plus. I mean, there's not a weak bat in the lineup.
Coach Patton's done a really good job
Done a
too.
great job, man.
Much like Coach Hudson.
He's got 2 really good pitchers. Maddie Kreisman, you know, she's been kind of the number 1 all year. But they can put Sidney Dickinson on there on the mound too, which they did in the district tournament. They went with Sidney and then brought in Maddie to get the close. So they've got 2 legit arms that they can win any night, and their bats are just on fire.
I know we don't like repeating ourselves, but we're getting ready to. And it's not really our fault. It's just the way it is. Brentwood track.
Yeah.
Class 3A sectional at Kirkwood, which is in Montgomery County.
Nice facility.
Nice facility. The girls and boys both win. And if you look at this, Tate, so on the girls' side, Brentwood finishes first with 193 points. Second was Green Hill with 86. Nolensville, Rossview, 45. If you add up the next 3 scores, it's not enough to beat Brentwood.
Yeah. Or if you double the number 2 score, it's not enough to beat Brentwood.
Boys not quite as dominant, but still dominant. 163 and 74. They roll in that one as well. And tell you what I noticed too, and a shout out to Nolensville. They finished 3rd on the girls' side, so they were the 2nd Wilco team. And then on the boys' side, it was Brentwood, Ravenwood, Nolensville in 4th. Franklin slipped in there with the top 5. But if you look at the winners, we had winners on the girls' side. So follow me here. On the girls' side, we won 6 events. Now, a couple of those were relays, right? The 400 and 800 for Brentwood. So they won 4 other events. 3 different young ladies represented. On the boys' side, they won 9 events. 3 of those were relays. But of the other 6 events, 5 different young men represented. So it's not like it's the same person. Now, again, Sophie out. Listen, she's a big reason that
She's
they're
going
doing
to get you a lot of points.
Hudson Elaine, he's going to get you a lot of points. But there's other people stepping up for them. It's one of my favorite quotes from Mr. Tate Mathews. Death by 1,000 cuts.
By both teams.
So they're going to win both of them. Agreed?
Yes.
Man.
Track, that's another one that we love.
Surely they've pulled a double before.
It's called track and field for a reason.
That's right.
Well, and you look at those, and because there's so many, right? But we're just talking about the first places here that you're talking about. But you on the girls' side, Sophie Yount, Brentwood High School, if you didn't know where she's from. Long jump and the 100 hurdles. Daisy Oatsfall, 2nd in the long jump. They go 1 and 2 in that. Ryan Moore of Centennial, the triple jump. Abby Miller, Brentwood High, 300 hurdles. So we sweep the hurdles in the 100 and the 300, and Brentwood sweeps the hurdles. There's a young lady by the name of Claire Stegall. She won the 800 and the 1600. Oh, great. Claire doesn't run the 3200. We got a shot. Nope. Abby Cobb, Brentwood High, takes that one. And then, as you mentioned, BHS 4x4 and the 800 first place. Not to bring up, but it just is what it is. And they're so successful, we got to be honest with it. The only reason you don't see the 4x2 in there is they had a hiccup, which can happen earlier, and they're not in it anymore. But had they run, it would have been 4x2, 4x4, 4x8 on the girls' relays team.
Well, and you hope that doesn't come back to bite them. Don't think it will.
Yeah.
But
if you, and I think Daisy was 2nd, death by 1,000 points. We're talking points. These don't even show up. But I believe Daisy got 2nd in the high jump. So, they're so deep. There's not an event that they're not good at. And if you want to talk about explosive, go watch Daisy or Sophie. They are explosive.
I can't wait.
It's fun.
I would say, listen, no, we like all events. Mr. Mathews and I, we get out to a lot of events, but we got a special place in our heart for track and field.
I love track.
At the state level, it's kind of like for me, people talk about the Olympics and which do you like the best. I usually surprise them.
Right.
It's swimming.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite because it's just it's so fast and
It's awesome.
by the way, this would be a time.
Moves quickly.
This would be a time for some of our swimming fans out there to send me a couple emails now.
That's right.
Since I love it so much.
I got a bad feeling. Everybody knows I'm a big swim fan.
Love swim.
I'm guessing the shortage of pools is what's going to keep swimming from ever being a TWSA sport.
Well, and I don't know if ever is accurate, but Elizabethton, of all people, that school proposed swimming as a sanctioned sport this year, and the answer was no. But here's what's great about it. Now that they got the emerging sports category, if there's enough schools doing it, then it can fall in under that category. So there's a way to earn your way in, so to speak. And if it does, and by the way, I would be for it.
Yes.
Why would I not? Because we'll win it too.
Ravenwood would kick tail.
And listen, it's not just about the winning. The main thing to me is, although winning's nice, it's opportunity.
That's right.
Love opportunities.
Of course. That's part of why we're so big on girls. Not all, but why we're so big on girls flag football. Ravenwood girls dominated this year. That would have been another one on the list. So, and we love going and seeing our good friend Hank before the track meet.
Right.
We usually bump into him in the parking lot.
That's right.
Doing.
He's always there.
He's always there. He's a constant with the state track.
He's a staple.
Yeah, he's a staple.
Boys side, let's talk some individuals real quick. Donovan Starr, of course, high jump for Ravenwood. You were surprised now he didn't win the 100, but
I was.
he can't win them all.
That's right. And he was well up there. I believe he was he not? He was either second or third.
He was high.
He pointed, yeah. But he got the high jump. I think, let's see what happens. I'm not real worried about it. But he did take first place in the high jump. So that just goes to show you, with a 10.59 time already recorded, that goes to show you how fast that 100 was. I don't think anybody beat that, but who knows what was going on up there in Clarksville. But Cannon Kinder gets the first place in the pole vault. I thought this was really interesting. Brandon Brooks, Sterling Weldon got runner-up in the triple jump. I'm going, what's going on here? Brandon Brooks, his teammate.
Whatever they're doing out there for the triple jump,
they know how to do the triple jump. So they go 1-2 in that, and then if you go back and then I noticed Sterling didn't win the long jump. That caught me off guard too. Well, he got third, and Cannon Kinder got second in that one. So just, the field events, man, it's so cool. Nick Blucher took home first place in the discus throw. Cameron High, I wanted to check this out too, because I know we're good at the hurdles. Cameron High, Brentwood High School, takes home first place in the 110 hurdles. Coach Wilco, the 110 hurdles, first, second, third, fourth, fifth in the 110 hurdles.
Thanks for playing.
Thanks for playing. Hudson Elaine, 200 and 400 first place. I love that. You don't see that a whole lot. That's pretty strong, man. You might see the 1 and the 2, but the 200 and the 400, Hudson's an electric athlete. And then Callahan Fielder of Brentwood High with the 3,200. Michael Eischen of the Centennial with the 1,600. And then relays, we're talking Brentwood High, 4x2, 4x4, 4x8, the Brentwood boys.
Incredible. For some reason, I know I bring this up, but it always makes me crack up when we talk about Hudson Elaine, is our friend of the show, Matt Davenport. He didn't like that he ended up breaking his speed record. But in Matt Davenport's defense, I'd say Hudson works at it more.
Yes. Matt had a lot of fingers and a lot of pies.
He did. And he probably showed up with his shoes untied.
Rec specs, if he even owns a pair, they pale in comparison to Matt Davenport's.
And Coach Davenport, which I call him because I know him as a coach.
Yeah.
He probably showed up with the shoes untied too.
Well,
but he laced them up when it mattered.
Matt was a love-hate relationship with pretty much every coach he ever had. Sig's pretty laid back, but I would love to have known
I think he loves to coach that boy.
He does.
Yeah.
But I guarantee he caused him some stress.
He's great, man. I want that guy in my foxhole
Dang right.
every time. Class AA sectional, shout out Fairview. Both teams finished 5th in their sectional. They did get a win in the boys 4 by 400. Another sport at that school where they're
Getting better.
on the climb. Nice
the
facility
rise.
out there.
Yep.
Got them a new pole vault pit this year, which allows them to host more events, which I think is important.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little baseball. Actually, we talked about baseball. I did want to talk about this a little bit more though. The gym. I think it's very important that we talk about this week's gym.
It's a pretty big gym.
Nolensville. Baseball and softball. They were, during the regular season, a combined 31-4. Okay, 31-4. When you count the postseason tournament, they were 8-0. I'm talking district now. 39-4. Had to get that in because that, my friends, is big.
That is dominating.
Dominating. Absolute dominating.
Think about that. They did not lose a game on either sport on the diamond in the postseason. So the losers bracket, working your way back up the losers bracket, you have to have them, but we didn't need them for either Nolensville team.
Didn't need them. Hey, one more, because I left this out earlier. Want to give a shout out to Fairview. They were runner-up, 8-7 to Creekwood. It was an 8-inning ball game. They advanced to the region tournament. And then also this week, we need to mention that Nolensville will take on Coffee County. Summit will take on Lincoln County. We did this last week. Just don't count that other district out, but it's going to be Nolensville and Summit.
Big difference in Lincoln County baseball and softball. And also, so yes, I think we're good there on both Nolensville versus Coffee. But Coffee's pretty good too in softball, but pretty good. Summit and Lincoln County. Also, I don't think we mentioned by winning the district, by winning the region tournament, Nolensville will host Green Hill. Yeah, you did say that in the best of 2 of 3. So yeah.
You're talking about baseball.
In baseball, the sectional, yep.
I like our chances there.
I do too.
I really do, because Nolensville has proven with the pitching situation that the more that comes into play, the better off they are. The depth will help them. All right, now here's one. I know we talked about this last week. Brentwood, they advance in soccer because they won the regular season. Franklin pulls the upset. And they just really dominate.
5-1.
Davis Long coming through.
With a hat trick.
+1. Which I appreciate you.
It's pretty awesome.
Being able to pull that out of the hat.
Yes.
The rabbit out of the
pun intended.
Rabbit out of the hat. So we talked about this. Hey, it's going to feel a little bit empty for Franklin if they don't cash in during the championship. They were up 2-0 late.
Yes.
Deep into the second half. What does Ravenwood do? They score a couple of late goals to tie it up. And then you and I like them. It goes to PKs, penalty kicks to
Extra kicks.
extra kicks, yes. Nobody messed up. What's the official language again?
I think it's extra kicks.
So they go. So they get, what is it, 5 each?
Yes.
We line them up and it's one at a time. And
talk about pressure packed.
The soccer coaches don't like it. Most of them. They're like,
they like it if they win.
It's too important. It comes down to, but here's what happens. You line them up, whoever comes through, Ravenwood came through. They end up winning. It was a 2-2 tie, but they go to a couple overtimes. That's something they do.
Yes.
Play a couple overtime periods. Still tied 2-2, and then they line them up. Remember that state championship you and I went to? Franklin, Ravenwood, girls.
Yes.
And it came down to that. That's the one where Coach Mancini, she had a goalie that she would put in just for that.
Yes. That's pretty strong.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, you hate that, man. So that's where, and then that's where the other side of the discussion comes of letting the district champion, regular season champion through. Look at that. Look at what Franklin did. And they lost again, as you mentioned, in extra kicks. 1, right? I think it was 1. And So it went all the way through the 5, and they lost by 1. They were playing as good as some could argue they were playing as good as soccer as anybody in the state. Davis Long, man, what a guy, what a way to close out his career.
Now, Davis, make sure June 18th you're available.
Yeah,
because I got a feeling you're going to show
need
up
to
at
be
the
there.
Wilco's. Hey, we'll have great competition for all of our categories.
Yes.
And June 18th, Wilco Awards will be announcing some finalists soon. Is there any? If you're talking about male athlete of the year, you start talking about dominance in a few sports. I always think it's interesting how people vote. Do they vote based on, I'm so dominant in one sport? Do I say, look, there's these couple of sports take a guy like Dominic Reed. Dominic Reed, football, basketball. So I can't wait to see what happens in all these events for the Wilcos.
Oh, there's some tight ones. I'm assuming you're talking about male athlete of the year.
Yeah, and then of course multi-sport. And you get into
Multi-sport.
multi-sport.
Yeah, heck yeah. And then here's the cool thing: in the spring sports, a lot of times these were voted on before the regular season and the state championship season were over. Now everything's in play. So you look at let's look at Brentwood. Let's look at boys basketball. Daniel Cochran, the region MVP. Jet Montgomery and Tylen Lewis, got to think they're going to be finalists. State champs. What gives there, right? And then I can't wait to see what happens with soccer. With boys track and girls track. I think we know who's going to win girls track. But maybe not. Maybe not. There's going to be multiple state champion winners in both those categories.
The Wilcos are so fun.
Yeah, okay, so you say Claire Stegall is going to win. She's going to win cross country, I'm sure, right? But you say she's going to win track, and she probably should. She's, barring car trouble, she's going to win the 800 and the 1600. Probably Baker say Sophie Younts got a good chance to have a couple of state. Think about that. We might have.
I don't think anybody's ever lost because of car trouble. I'm assuming she would make plans to get that. Well, last year she couldn't even drive, so there was no issue.
Yeah, that's right. She'd just get out of her car and run there.
That'd be her warm-up.
It's going to be fun, man. I can't wait.
Hey, and not to take our Wilco thunder away, but we have 4 finalists, and we should. We can't just have everybody as a finalist. Yeah. In wrestling, we had 4 state champions.
Yes.
But we had some others that are like runner-up and had great seasons. And
yeah.
A few years ago, I got somebody reached out as a coach and said, hey, it's great, but this guy finished 3rd or 2nd or whatever it was. Why wouldn't he have found something like? Well, the ones that were all won.
They were state champs.
What are you supposed to do? It's tough, man.
It is tough.
It's tough.
And there's some repeat state champions in that group. So how do you vote?
Shouldn't be a career. I tell the votes, not a career.
It's a season.
It's a season.
That's right. I agree 100%. 100%. Same thing with track. Player. The previous 2 years should not go into voting regardless of what happens this year.
Tate's going to be fun.
It's going to be real fun.
This is such a great time of year for athletics.
Yes.
It is.
Get out there and the weather's good again. The cicadas are, by that time of night, they're kind of starting to quiet down a little bit.
They're roaring in my neighborhood.
Oh, boy.
They're roaring. Tate, I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
Thank you for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.